Siku hiyo usiku kitu kama saa 3 hivi tukasikia nduru.
Rumors ya kwamba kuna watu msituni.
Kuna warriors wanafundishwa kwa BELSOI.
I don't know where they get this warriors story from. Yeah, those are our enemies.
Two decades ago, a mob raids a farm of a prominent farmer and civic leader in Molo. The mob lynches him, but before leaving, they set ablaze his entire estate. Why was Edward BELSOI, a former army captain and the first commandant of a police training college, killed? Was his farm being used as a training ground for militia, or was he a victim of a bad rumor? Tonight on Case Files, the army captain starts now. Tom BELSOI, the eldest son of Edward BELSOI, shows CaseFiles what 23 years ago was their home. The home of the Molo farmer, Edward Kipsoi BELSOI, was overrun by an angry mob that came not only to set the expansive farm on fire, but to burn the owner alive. Molo constituency has never escaped the ban that has been the post-election violence. Since 1992 general elections to those held in 1997 and later 2007, the rich agricultural landscape that has the faces of virtually all ethnic communities in the country has seen a bloodletting never witnessed before.
Last port of call for him always would be the cattle. He would come, stop by the stores here, go and meet the cattle around.
Edward Kipsoi BELSOI's farm, an 800-acre piece of land, sat at the middle of two opposing communities, the Kalenjin to the east and the Kikuyu community to the west. Months before the 1992 general elections, the country had witnessed riots, political assassinations, and the emergency of strong political parties. The parties wanted to unseat the KANU regime. To many observers, the country was ripe for a political revolution. Kilometers away in Rift Valley, the simmering differences between two large communities once again became pronounced. Molo town became a point of focus for security agencies. An election was nearing. Tension between two largest communities at the time was also growing. Hellon KOECH, who had worked as a farm manager for BELSOI for a period of 15 years, told CaseFiles one could touch the tension in town.
Kwa ofisini ya Molo, ikaanza rumors. Nikifika ofisi kila asubuhi, nasikia watu nasema kuna warriors wanafundishwa kwa BELSOI, hivyo wako kwa msituni. Na gari yote ikipita tu, labda kwa ngambo hiyo, ama kwa barabara hiyo, na kwa sababu hiyo magari ilikuwa yanatembea kununua mboga. Ikionekana tu nasema na ile gari naenda kwa BELSOI, naenda kulisha warriors. So tuliendelea na naulizwa kwa sababu it was my area, ilikuwa nikitawala. So ofisi ya CID saa yote nakuja uliza mimi, area yako iko warriors wanafundishwa kwa msituni? Mimi namwambia hakuna.
KOECH, an acting chief for Molo town, told CaseFiles, just like other prominent Kalenjin leaders in Molo town, Edward BELSOI had farm machinery, had a handful farm workers.
Siku moja nikatoka nikaenda kwa OCPD. Nikamwambia hakuna kona mimi hapa najua. Ningependa tutembee kwa sababu ni area yangu, ili hata mimi nijue kama wako nifahamu hiko. Ndio hao wakakubali, nikapatiwa officers kama 10. Tukachukua Land Rover tukakuja. Kufika ngambo ile, shamba ile iko green, iko kwa barabara inaenda. Wakati tulifika hapo, hao wakaona watu na wanalima kwa shamba, walikuwa wanalimia viazi. Wakaniambia, ofisa mmoja akasema waja tusimame kwanza. Yeye akaruka akaingia kwa shamba. Akaenda kwa shamba, anaenda kwa mfanyikazi, anazungumzia, anauliza jina, wewe unaitwa nani, kazi mzuri, kwa sababu hawa hawajui ni nini naendelea. Wanapatiana jina, labda huyu naitwa Wamboi. Naenda kwa mwingine, wanazungumza, labda ni Bosibori. Anaenda, wanazungumza Chelangat ama Kiplangat. Huyo sasa akarudi kwa barabara. Alafu kaniuliza, chief, hii warriors nasemekana iko hapa, wako hapi?
The murmurs grew even louder as the night of March 17th, 1992 approached.
Masaa za asubuhi tukasikia rumors imejaa huko kwamba ati Wakalenjin mpaka wahame Kenya. Wakalenjin wahame. Sasa hiyo rumors ikaendelea hivyo, ikakuwa mingi huko town. Mpaka sisi tukaamua turudi nyumbani, manake hatujui nini inaendelea.
On the morning of the 17th of March 1992, the decorated army captain, the first black component of the prestigious police training college in Kiganjo, headed to his farm as was routine. OKOKO, a farmhand at the time, told CaseFiles all was well until he met a group of people at a town center near the home of the army captain.
Kufika njiani hapo moto, si ndio tulisimamishwa. Tukaambiwa watu wanaenda mikutano na nyinyi mnatembea kwa njia. Tukashindwa ni mkutano gani? Tukawa hatuna habari, na wenye wanatuambia hawatuambii ni mkutano gani. Lakini ni vijana wengi tulikuta hapo, wengi kabisa. Na magari yalikuwa yamesimama hapo, magari mawili na madramu juu. Sasa hawa vijana wakatuambia watu wanaenda mkutano na nyinyi mnatembea kwa njia. Sisi hatuna habari ni mkutano gani. Wakawa hash kwa sisi, wanataka kutupiga kwa sababu hatukwenda mkutano.
OKOKO said after returning to the farm that afternoon, he saw the same group of people.
Kundi kubwa la watu, hata si watu 100, si watu 200, ni watu wengi kabisa. Ni mchana mwendo wa saa 8. Ni wengi kabisa. Kati wanafika kwa ile junction, kuna junction hapo inaitwa Kinamba. Wanasema kila mtu akuje, na kama wewe ni Mkalenjin uende Libya. Na kambi ilikuwa huko ya mzee ng'ambo ile. Kuna wengine wameenda huko na ni kama wanachoma.
The elderly BELSOI, his son and a few farmhands tried to fight back. The mob had by now taken positions on the expansive farm. As some of them charged at the BELSOIs, others turned on the property on the farm.
It's like I had a premonition of sorts, yeah? And I kept on calling, and I was not getting through. I even called KCC, because that's where the milk will be taken. I talked to the manager, and I said, have you seen my dad today? He said, no, we've not seen him. So I was looking for any way I could get hold of him, and I couldn't.
Tom BELSOI told CaseFiles his younger brother James BELSOI watched as his father ran for his life. The safest hiding place was among his livestock.
There was this invasion from that end, through the staff quarters and into the farm. And the more they tried to ward off the invasion, they came back more. They told our dad, look, these guys are they were going to overrun us, so we better go this way. And Mose accepted in a way, so they thought. Little did they know that Mose was overrun and killed at the farm.
What was once a well-organized modern farm with a residential house complete with a garden and a lounge was reduced to ashes.
This rubble here, this was the house. A beautiful farmhouse with a shingle roof, with an excellent lawn. We used to, when you have guests, we used to have a barbecue out there, and we would sit in the shades.
Joash JUMBA, a fireman for the army captain, told CaseFiles he had retired to bed when he heard some noises.
Niliposikia nduru kutoka nje, nikaona kwake huko moto inawaka huko, na watu wanapiga kelele kwa barabara usiku saa 3. Hatukutoka twende tuangalie ni nini kinaendelea huko. Mimi tulirudi ndani ya nyumba, hata nikafahamisha watu wangu, hapana, kunaonekana si kuzuri, sijui ni nini kinaendelea. Kidogo baada ya dakika kama 30 hivi, kuna jirani wake ambaye alikuwa anaitwa Zakayo, tukaona tena kwake kumewakishwa, nyumba yake imewakishwa. Basi sasa tulilala na hofu, hata tukulala ndani ya nyumba, tulitoka tukalala ndani ya msituni, sababu watu walikuwa na kelele wengi.
Ndio kidogo tunaona mwangaza hapa wa nyumba ya mzee, something kama 8:30 tukaona mwangaza, nyumba naungua kabisa. Alafu tunasikia sasa kelele ya watu wengi wanaelekea tena, ndio wakaenda kwa nyumba ingine.
BELSOI's sons were not at home at the time. It wasn't until 3 days later that one of his sons got news of what had happened on the farm.
We got to hear about it 2-3 days after the incident had happened. There was no communication with my dad from before, from 16th, 15th of March. Yeah.
Save for Edward Kipsoi BELSOI, the rest of the farm workers had survived the night attack. Police were now looking for the body of the slain businessman and civic leader. Joash told CaseFiles he returned back to the farm to look for his boss.
Tulipokata kwa hiyo shamba ya mahindi ilikuwa imechomwa, mahali tulipofika kulikuwa kumekusanya majani mingi ya mahindi ili imebakia. Hapo ndio niliona mwili wa marehemu huko, lakini umechomwa.
Under pressure from the president, who is said to have been close to Edward Kipsoi BELSOI, police investigators commenced investigations into his murder. President Daniel Moi wanted those behind BELSOI's murder arrested. BELSOI had less than 15 workers on his farm. Most of them had grown up on the farm as young boys turned workers. Those who came to kill him believed he was a warlord, a man after the blood of their own communities. But who was he? CaseFiles takes a short break.
This is KTN News.
Let me take care of your hands.
Kwa sababu ni muhimu kutunza mikono ya mama, Omo ina chembe-chembe asili ya kutunza mikono ya mama anapofua. Omo, nguvu ya kutoa madoa sugu, kutunza mikono.
We wish to inform all owners of tourism establishments, as identified under the 9th schedule of the Tourism Act 2011, that we are conducting a profiling and registration exercise countrywide. Please accord our officers the necessary support.
This is KTN News.
Baada ya siku 2 nikaona polisi wakikuja.
It was the best dad that one could dream of.
Mtu ya kwanza atawawa, mimi nitakuwa number 2 mimi.
It's like I had a premonition of sorts, yeah? And I kept on calling, and I was not getting through.
Was it a case of a community striking fast before the enemy, or was it a politically instigated killing? Several people were arrested, among them the man who had shown the police officers the scene where the body of his boss had been discovered.
Wakaniambia, ulipata wapi huyu mwili wake? Nikawaambia niliona mahala pale. Na unajua mwenye kumuua? Nikamwambia siwezi kujua sababu siku kuweko ilikuwa ni usiku. Basi wakaniambia tupande lori twende kwa polisi.
Joash told the police he had nothing to do with BELSOI's murder. The only mistake he made was to locate his body 3 days after he had been killed.
Anachukua miti, anatwanga kwa hii miguu huku chini, twanga kabisa. Kitwanga huko mimi naona giza. Nilitembezwa kila mahali, nikapelekwa hata siku wananifunika blanketi kwa Land Rover. Walikuwa wamenifunga miguu na nyororo. Kichwa kimeangalia chini na mimi niko uchi. Sasa wanajaribu kunifinya sehemu zangu za siri, kufanya nini, niseme tu nini iliua BELSOI. Mimi nikawaambia siwezi kujua isipokuwa tu mniue sababu mimi sikuhusika.
By the time police investigators were done with Joash and his co-accused, one of his fellow accused had died in prison. After 1 year behind bars, they were released for lack of evidence.
Aliona haoni wenye kuhusika kati yetu. Hata akatuambia kama mnataka mshtaki wenye kuwalete hapa. Lakini kwa sababu hatukukuwa na uwezo, tukatupilia mbali hivi na tukawacha.
Attention was now focused on Joseph Mwai Kungu, a farmer at BELSOI's expansive estate. Kungu was formerly charged before Nakuru court for the murder of the slain businessman and civic leader. The prosecution called to the witness stand 18 witnesses, among them one of BELSOI's sons, James BELSOI. James BELSOI told the court that they were going about their business when a gang of people arrived on their farm with a pickup truck. The truck was being trailed by hundreds of men armed with machetes and sticks. The gang attacked them in waves. The first wave was of about 10 men armed with machetes and sticks sharpened on both ends. The gang was branded in white turbans. It was during the fourth attack when the mob took over the farm. The son told the court the gang overpowered them and overran the farm. The son told the trial judge Roslyn Nambuye that the gang went for the father as he fled the farm. James says nothing was stolen. The gang had come to kill, and the father was their first target.
When the politicians of the Ford Asili, those are the people who were real opponents at the time. So they wanted to make sure there was no opposition here. Kano, for that matter. I think they were depicted like we were Kano. In fact, before this happened, my father called me one time and said, look, my son, don't come to Molo in the near future. There are too many two-finger salute people around the neighborhood. Yeah? So obviously those were the problems.
James told the court he advised his father to run for his life. The last he saw of the father was him walking fast and going under a fence before disappearing into the night. All the time they were trying to repulse the mob, the father did not utter a word. He never saw him again until a week later, not on the farm, but in a mortuary. Farmhands Alice Musonik, Joseph Kiplangat and Jen Chipkorui, who turned out to be crucial witnesses, told the court they were at the scene of the murder. Alice Cherotich told the court she had recognized Kung on the farm the evening Edward Kipsoi was murdered. Alice told the court there was enough light from the moon and the burning house. Mwai was easy to identify. Joseph Kiplanga told the court he saw Mwai on the night Edward BELSOI was killed. He told the court he knew it was Mwai because he was BELSOI's neighbor. Mwai was also a frequent visitor to BELSOI's farm every time he came to purchase livestock. Several witnesses told the court it was BELSOI's farmhands who were telling the slain businessman that there were attackers in a forest near his home planning to attack members of the Kalenjin community, contrary to the widely spread word that the attackers were from the Kalenjin community planning to attack the Kikuyu. In fact, some of BELSOI's workers who took part in his killing had left the farm hours before the night attacks commenced. Was BELSOI killed by people he knew? One of the attackers, it will later emerge, was a son to a mother who had worked for BELSOI for many years. The mother had during the day asked for permission to go to hospital. Did the mother know of a plan to kill BELSOI?
Mama mwingine akakuja akaniambia, ukitembea wewe tembea mzuri, kwa sababu watu walikuwa wanazungumza kwa stage sasa Molo ya kwamba wewe mzee ni mtu ya kwanza atawawa mimi nitakuwa number 2, mimi. Number 3 ni mzee mwingine wa sehemu ile, tulikuwa watu 8.
In his defense, Joseph Mwai Kungu told the trial judge that indeed he had been to BELSOI's farm to buy livestock. Kungu denied taking part in BELSOI's murder. Kungu denied planning and executing the murder of the slain one-time country's Olympic chief, Dimission. After several months on trial, Justice Roslyn Nambuye sentenced Joseph Mwai Kungu to hang for the murder of the slain businessman. The judge ruled that court assessors and the evidence of 2 crucial witnesses had placed Kungu at the scene of the murder. Joseph Kungu Mwai appealed against the sentence. The Court of Appeal judges, Justice Gishui, Riaga Molo and Akilano Akiumi, declared the trial of Joseph Mwai Kungu a mistrial. The judge, they ruled, had relied on the evidence of questionable characters. Joseph Kungu Mwai was set free, but not for long. He was arrested and once more was back in court. Kungu was tried afresh for the murder of Edward Kipsoi BELSOI. Kungu was set free. None of the witnesses was able to place him at the scene of the murder. Some of the witnesses disowned their statements. Some say they could not remember mentioning Joseph Kungu as the man who had them frog-marched on the night BELSOI was killed and his farm set on fire. Kungu walked to freedom. If Joseph Mwai Kungu, Pius Kinoru, Joash JUMBA, among other suspects, were the wrong people, who are the people behind his murder? BELSOI's farm has witnessed 2 other major attacks arising from post-election violence incidents. His former farmhand who fled the farm 10 years ago told CaseFiles the 2007 post-election violence was the worst.
Watu walikuja wengi kutoka Elbagon, Molo, wakikuja kuvamia Sirikwa. Shamba letu ni Mudhenji. Mimi nilikuwa nimechimba choo nyumbani na sijaitengeneza. Nilikuwa na bibi yangu anashuka ndani na watoto na mimi. Tunachukua mabati, tunaweka juu na nyasi juu. Ndio tunasikia tu huko nje watu wakikimbisana mbio. Ndio tukatengeneza njia ya kuweza kukata msituni kukuja pande hii. Ndio sababu bado.
The family still maintains the father was not a warlord. Their farm was never used to train militia. The sons insist they have been tried and convicted by the court of public opinion.
Since inception, we've never had any warriors there. We've not had any warriors around. I don't know where they get this warriors story from. Yeah, those are our enemies.
If there were any warriors in this farm, a lot of other people who had come to attack our farm would probably have been killed too. So it's only unfortunate that it was only my dad who was killed.
Molo has always remained the leading post-election violence hotspot every time the country gears up for a general election. It has been 23 years now since Edward Kipsoi BELSOI was murdered, and his killers are yet to be brought to book.
He was a good man. They killed a good man.
Was Edward BELSOI's farm used to train militia, just like other farms singled out by the Kilana Kiumi Commission of Inquiry into the 1992 post-election violence, or was he a victim of circumstance?
When you are portrayed like we are murderers, I mean, we get very, very, very upset. We've never murdered anybody.
I mean, loss of life of a loved one is very painful to anyone, and so it was to me. It's even worse now to hear that there has been no justice for the perpetrators of that incident.
The clashes did not happen again in 2013, but many residents here are still yet to be convinced that the mistrust between the 2 communities living here is truly over. The key suspects in the murder of Edward Kipsoi BELSOI have since died. James BELSOI, the son who saw the father and maybe his attackers the night they killed him, has also died, closing any possible fresh investigations into the captain's murder mystery. CaseFiles, the army captain, is a case closed. Denison Sarigo for CaseFiles.